Hello, I'm Mark Montgomery. I'm founder and CEO of KYield. This is our end of the year 2025 presentation on the KOS that will serve as an update for those who follow us and an introduction for those who don't, that are new to us. So the KOS is the flagship system of KYield, the company that I founded that has been in R&D now for almost 30 years. It's the first ever enterprise-wide operating system, human-centric or business or organizational operating system enhanced with artificial intelligence across the human digital workforce. That's essentially what it is. We're going to go through this pretty rapidly. I want to keep it as brief as possible. This is our senior team. I'm an entrepreneur, the inventor of the system, developed the theorem while I was in my knowledge systems lab, running a large network for thought leaders. It was a leading learning network at the time. Gwynn, Rob, uh, Rob Nielsen, he is the longest running on our board. He is a retired professor at National Defense University when we first met. And then he became the KM advisor at the U.S. Army, developed their KM program. And Bob Hegbloom, he's been our board for a little over a year now. Bob was the CEO of RAM when we first touched base. I reached out to him. RAM was doing very well under his leadership, and we put him on our CEO distribution list. He took an interest in KYield, and then after he retired from Chrysler, we reconnected, invited him on our board a couple of years ago. Bob has spearheaded the auto division and the industry-specific versions of KOS for the auto industry. So we're going to move right along here. The KOS we'll get into a little bit more in a second here. The values of the company are very important, and the principles that serve as the foundation of the company we shared in 2020, 15 EAI principles. They're quite popular. There's also a three-part video interview with me and by Rob Nielsen on our board about these principles, why they're important. And we also wrote a scenario paper on cyber security that was the worst crisis of a CEO of a Fortune 500 company's career. And what it does is it ties each of these principles to that actual scenario and demonstrates why each is necessary, right? So we don't view these as optional. These are necessary. And I'm just going to focus on number one because if you don't get that right, you're in deep trouble. Nothing else is going to go right, and you're risking the entire company. So number one is enterprise AI should have governance, ethics, and security built in from inception. The rationale is good system design is paramount. Governance is the foundation systems are built on or should be. When it isn't, things go terribly wrong. Implications attempting to add on governance, ethics, and security after the fact is technically difficult, inefficient, and prone to error. I don't like to use the word impossible, but in artificial intelligence systems, it is close to impossible, at least in terms of what our current capabilities are. Just today, I posted a story on LinkedIn on new research from cryptographers, including a professor at MIT and UCB, who won a Turing award for cryptography. And what they essentially did was prove with math what I've been saying and others have been saying for a few years now is that LLMs alone, the way they're done on the consumer web, can never be made safe. So the so-called guardrails is a false equivalent. There's an infinite number of workarounds. It takes experts less than an hour to get around all the systems have failed, all the LLMs. So the only way to do it is within a system like our KOS, where we have strong security for access and data throughout the system. And that's the reason why it was designed this way. It was obvious to me from the very beginning. I was involved with data standards 25 years ago and what I call data physics, right? I was running multiple networks. Highlights of the KOS, end-to-end precision data management. Without that, None of these other functions are executable, and certainly not in a unified manner, the way the organization needs to be. It's self-tailored to each entity. It's continuously adaptive. And that we do with Dana, which is the AI assistant for every employee in the organization. We're gonna look at that in a second here. And that's sort of ultra personalized intelligence that Dana provides. And there's multiple proprietary productivity tools in the KOS. It's a patented system. One of those is a good example is data valves, or you can think of it as a tuner. And because of the precision data end to end across the system and focus on high quality data, very simply, each individual in their Dana assistant can, with a couple of clicks or in a just a easy motion with a mouse or a voice command, can increase the quality or decrease the quantity of data, their data consumption. Not mandatory things or alerts for really critical things, but for the normal workflow, it's a huge productivity booster. So it has strong systemic security. There's 4 layers across the entire system, including very tight control of who uses the system and engages in the knowledge networks, essential for a company, right? Any kind of organization. And also behavioral security. So that's not just important for humans, obviously, and insider risk and accidents, but also agents, right? And the more we use agents, behavioral is how we can tell whether or not the agent is the type of agent that is approved and is doing what they're supposed to do, and the humans are the people that we think they are, right, in the system. So captured preventions and opportunities, we'll talk a little bit about that. That's the highest ROI by far that's even possible. It's not Gen AI. That's a misconception. There's value in it, but captured preventions and opportunities is the highest possible ROI. And then it's all done with simple natural language interface for the corporation and individual. So here's Dana. And a good example, this KOS is what's called a neurosymbolic system, combines the symbolic with neural networks. And the reason for that is symbolic provides the structure, the rules-based system that's necessary in an organization for access control and security and accuracy. And then neural networks, which language models is one type, there's many different types, provides really good value for things like accelerating discovery, writing, reports, that sort of thing, summaries, creative image generation. This slide is a good example of neurosymbolic. I used Banana Pro in beta mode by Gemini and Google to develop this. And of course, LLMs make mistakes, right? So it took me many tries to get the accuracy that's required. But it's based on precision data uh, that was fed into it by my work, my articles, my papers, my talks, and that's how we generated this in an accurate form. The probabilities when you're using with something like LLMs and neural networks, the probabilities are much, much higher if you're using precision data, that it's going to be accurate, it's going to be safe and secure, right? As you still you need to confirm it. Humans need to be in the loop as of now. But I'll go back. We didn't talk much about knowledge networks and knowledge graphs yet. There's the next slide I'll show you, and secure messaging. The important thing to understand is that all of these embedded functions are interconnected, right? And it's how we do that in the algorithmics and the predictive analytics that really provides the value of the system. So the knowledge networks goes out um, to your whole network. Data should be provided to everyone in the organization, and we price the system accordingly. The evidence couldn't be more clear. I give examples: 9/11, the BP oil spill, Deepwater Horizon. Those are 2 events that I worked on. that very, very specifically show why you need a system like this to prevent those major catastrophes. But also another good example is a few years ago, the collapse of the condo in Florida that killed people and the building collapsed. There was a swimming pool contractor that took a picture of the newly cracked foundation while he was working on the swimming pool, but he wasn't connected. He didn't have data. He wasn't connected to a system like the KOS. He couldn't upload that image, which in our case would have automatically gone to the people in the responsibility chain. Very likely would have saved lives and probably could have saved the building, right? If you would have got engineers in there to support the structure and create repairs. So that's just one example of many hundreds actually that we've come across that show the power of the captured prevention. So here's an example of a knowledge network, very simple example, combined with precision search, which anticipates needs in advance, right? And so again, that's a combination of the structured precision data across the system, focus on high quality data, our algorithmics, our predictive analytics. It's how we put it all together to provide this. So a recall alert, a potential product defect is discovered. The people in the responsibility chain who have direct responsibility for it receive an alert. And this can be voice activated, it can be visually activated, but in any event, it shows up in your phone and in your data, and it prompts action. So you click it on, you have or voice control, and then you have which vendor it is, a summary of the problem or potential problem. It has the direct information on the team that's involved, and also the system will make recommendations for alternative vendors if necessary. So within a matter of seconds, and then you can click on the individuals and to send them a secure message, right? And this is all, it's auditable, and so you have it. That data is there. We don't have access to the data. It stays with the customer. So this is an example of a very common, very expensive thing. We recently wrote a paper and did a notebook summary audio of it and shared it on how we use the system for prevention of product recalls. $1 trillion a year problem. Auto industry is the biggest, but pharmaceuticals, it costs lives. It's just a massive problem in the food distribution system, the products. Anybody that builds products, recall is a potential problem, and it's very common. I'm on the list. I get it all the time. I mean, there is many recalls every week on the list. It's amazing how big of a problem it is. So adoption of the KOS. This is just a plan that we've done many times, an example of an adoption plan. This is about 2-year time period where phase one, you build out the KOS for that specific organization. The universal KOS has been tested, but it still needs to be tailored, right? You have some data that needs to be integrated. There's some work that needs to be done. You get 2 or more business units, suppliers, and some partners. You need some active users in there, some people that really that want to get the most out of the system, power users, and maybe a couple hundred people to 1,000 people, depending on the type of organization. You make sure that the security they're trusted people that work with you and collaborate with you. We get the corporation trained on the security parameters and how to use the system. Phase two is it expands it in a well-planned manner, integrates with more software, essentially anything that has APIs. We don't like to put too much into the system. We focus on high quality, but there's good licensed content with news items, trade material that is important, sales data, financial data, those sorts of things into the system. Phase three extend to the large number of employees, suppliers, and partners using the KOS, and you focus on, ROI. Basically, because we focus on high quality data rather than quantity, actually the value that you get out of the system exponentially increases when you increase volume, in our case, because the quality is increasing to a certain degree. I mean, it has limits, but in an organizational setting, ecosystem, your chances of capturing opportunities and preventions, for example, in the learning process really accelerates. So phase four, scale the KOS adoption across the ecosystem, and focus on high quality data priorities for the company. Phase five, build new services and products on top of the KOS. That's a great option. It could actually be branded. The company, we can do white labels, and build a global intelligence network, right? So here's some example of the installation configurations. Very flexible. It was designed to be, it's a modular system. It's very flexible. Cloud, hybrid cloud data centers, basically any kind of configuration you can imagine. On premises, edge and devices, install cars, trucks, planes, that sort of thing, ships. The KOS can be installed in them, and then Dana for the people, and then the corporation or the regional hub has a KOS installed that manages security, and you have instant communications, state-of-the-art artificial intelligence tailored to each entity across the world potentially, right? And so that is the sort of definition of an intelligent enterprise that's achievable today. Very powerful system. I don't think that anything is more powerful in the current environment. So licensing we also have flexible options here. Turnkey KOS tailored to the customer. License supported by. There are some companies that have the capabilities to build it and want to build it. We're willing to go that route. We just want to make sure that the customer is going to be happy and it's going to be done right. A lot of times there's internal conflicts, right? We run into them all the time. It's actually pretty well known, just not that publicized. So you need to be careful about that. But in the right circumstance, we're willing to do that. New products and services actually can be done early on. You can do it as a JV, a new company, new products and services, or it can be done internally. Master licenses for large ecosystems. Let's say a market leader or a niche specialty, with a certain amount of size that has a ecosystem of, let's say, mid markets and small businesses, maybe a franchise company, maybe it could be anything, could even be associations or governments. And a master license is possible. Again, it's possible to do it in a branded manner. And that way they can, they can actually license the system and have more control and over the system that way. So integrations, we talked about that a little bit. Essentially anything with good APIs. We don't want to we keep it separate. The KOS, we can integrate LLMs, but we keep the data separate because we don't want to reproduce slop. We want to maintain very high quality precision data in the KOS and in Dana, right? That is the number one priority of the system. All the other functions, all the other value depend on it. Alliances, we have a lot of these discussions. We're involved right now in discussions. Industry-specific ecosystems is a great way to have alliances. Well-aligned strategic matches. It could be hardware. It could be, it could be a number of things. Distributors, resellers, and services. It's a mature system. We can be turnkey. It's pretty easy to use. So that's a viable way to go. And then consulting firms. There's a fair amount of consulting in this. You can tailor it, you can optimize it. So that's a good match. So I'll end it there. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active. I have a lot of featured stories that I post. That's probably the best way to get a hold of me. I don't want to, provide my contact numbers in public any more than I do. So reach out to me. If you have an interest, we can talk about and explore ways that the KOS could be put to work for your organization. Thank you. Have a great day.